So hey guys, I'm back with another video. So tonight's video is yet again another Chioma Chats video podcast edition. So by the title, we're going to be discussing the Khloe Kardashian problem. Now, what I mean by the Khloe Kardashian problem is, I think Khloe Kardashian has had a very tumultuous, interesting, and dynamic progression during her career of fame. I started watching the Kardashians from the first day they came out in 2007, and that may be shocking to y'all, being that I obviously speak against many of the actions that they do now, but I was about 10 or 11 years old when they came out with their first season of their reality show, so I just watched it like anybody else at that time. On top of that, when I was younger, my cousins lived with us for like a year or two, and my cousins were way older than me, so all of the reality TV shows that they loved to watch, I just ended up watching with them. So I'm very well versed on the progression of the Kardashian career and story. I really kept watching every single season and every episode up until probably when I got to college around 2015. But I would still catch some of the reruns here and there. And the sister who stood out to me the most is Khloe, because at one point she was my favorite Kardashian. She was very witty, outspoken, vulgar, and honest, and she was just herself. She knew that she looked different than her two older sisters, Kim and Kourtney, and initially she kind of stood in that. She was open about discussing the hardships that she faced with the comparison and insecurity and feeling inadequate during her childhood, and it just resonated with me. Kim and Kourtney are like 5'2", Khloe is like 5'10", which is how tall I am. So I know what it feels like to be the oddball or the awkward tall girl, or just being compared to your sister who may have a more ideal look. So I liked Khloe for the level of commonality. But what I've seen in Khloe from day one up until now is a big shift in pretty much every category and personality development. And I wanted to speak on the major reasons I feel that this has happened, and also use her as a cautionary tale for those who may have a similar story to Khloe. So without further ado, let's get right into this video. So starting off, Khloe Kardashian was born on June 27th, 1984, making her 38 years old. As we all know, Khloe has two older sisters, Kim and Kourtney, and two younger sisters, Kendall and Kylie, as well as a younger brother, Rob. Now, if you ask me, Khloe was doomed from the beginning. There has always been some confusion and discrepancy as to who Khloe's real biological father is, and her mother, Kris Jenner, openly admits that she was unfaithful to her former husband, Robert Kardashian Sr., around the time that Khloe was conceived. So if you ask me, the real Kardashian curse is Kris Jenner. Their mother kind of set all of them up for a lot of the issues that they have now as adults. Hence why I always say parents need to parent and do right by their children, because even if you haven't gotten your karma now as an adult, it can very much get carried out through your kids. So because of this, Khloe always looked different than her quote-unquote very pretty sisters, and having people put the bug in her ear that the man who she thinks is her dad isn't really her dad was really the beginning of a lifelong personal life infection. Now, this video isn't a Khloe pity party. I'm not asking y'all to feel bad for her. I'm just analyzing why I think Khloe Kardashian acts the way that she does. There have been so many headlines referencing Khloe in a not so positive manner, and I just sort of noticed it and decided to make a video. So it's alleged that her father is this white man who is not Robert Kardashian Sr., and her looks are kind of reflective of that, like, not gonna lie. Khloe doesn't really look Armenian. She had curly blonde hair as a kid, and she's several inches taller than her other sisters. This begins the issue with insecurity, personal acceptance, and trying to conform to what is deemed ideal. You see, Khloe has always felt outcasted, and I think once the fame started, it really took over her. So let's move on to 2007, when the Kardashian show first aired on E! As stated earlier, Khloe is the middle sister with the unconventional look, and it's evident in the show, especially in the first few seasons. At first, I thought she was Bruce Jenner's daughter when I was watching it, because she was several years younger than Kim and Kourtney, but she's actually the child of Kris Jenner. I think the show was really the catalyst to everything, which is pretty obvious. However, they made Khloe's weight, Khloe's height, Khloe's look the storyline for her in the first seasons. It's almost like the Duff friend, the DUFF, the designated ugly fat friend, as they call it. She got typecasted as the Duff of her sisters and their friend group because the storyline wasn't about her making millions or all of her businesses or anything else other than the fact that she was the outcast. And I think it's wild that this was done to her at such a pivotal time in her life. The show came out 15 years ago when Khloe was only 23 years old, which is younger than I am now. And I think that is a time when you're out of high school and you're past college age, so you're really trying to figure out what exactly you're trying to do with your life. And to come out with such a successful TV show and to make her character kind of be the gum that sticks to the bottom of your shoe, to me, is the reason why Khloe Kardashian has a problem. That problem can be defined as serial insecurity, obsessive validation from others, inability to detach, and what I like to call BAM. That is BAM. N. That stands for by any means necessary. So by any means necessary, will Khloe do anything to conquer or tell herself that she's conquered the problems that I just listed now? So by any means necessary, she will do something to get rid of her insecurity. By any means necessary, she'll do anything to seek validation from people that she wants. And by any means necessary, she will do anything to stay attached to a situation that may or may not serve her. So if you skip past all of these years from the beginning of the show until now, most of those seasons was about Khloe's transformation into who she is now. That is both physical and internal. The physical transformations are obvious. She claims that she's gotten one nose job, but obviously she's gotten several other enhancements. Lip injections, butt enhancement, Botox, all of which is very obvious. But some people may not be privy to her internal development. And it's probably just because you haven't really tediously watched the show over the years, but I think that Khloe over the years has honestly lost her sauce. The Khloe that most people know now is not the Khloe that started off back in 2007. And personal development is great, change is great, but I think there is a contrasting difference. I can't say the same for Kim because Kim has always been the main focus, the diva, the materialistic one, the favorite, and she still kind of is. Kourtney has always been the laid back, uninterested, and likable antagonist, and she still kind of is. Even Kendall has always been the outdoorsy, sporty, and model-esque sister, and she still is. However, Khloe has completely lost what drew people into her character at the beginning of Keeping Up because she has done this metamorphosis into the glitz and glam of Hollywood. This is a family that was well-to-do from the beginning, who didn't have to go from rags to riches, but really went from riches to richer. And because of that, it is a bit interesting to see how, regardless of the money, people still suffer from both physical and internal issues. Those internal issues have made Khloe almost like this robot who is coded to act a certain way. And that act is just simply doing things to fulfill a void because she has been chasing perfection and validation versus being the person who she was when she first started her television career. Khloe was funny, Khloe was vulgar, Khloe was kind of the most relatable. But I think Khloe has transitioned into the least like Kardashian because outside of her whole relationship saga, it's almost as if there is a disconnect with her physical and her internal. If we're gonna speak about body image, Khloe Kardashian is truly suffering. As I look at recent pictures of her, it's like somewhat cringeworthy because you're looking at this manufactured doll who doesn't seem to realize that she's a human and not a doll. And the Kardashians are kind of infamous for this, but I think Khloe is very prominent because we have seen so many different physical changes in her that it's kind of hard to not call it out. As of recent, she's been doing the same thing Kim did by pretty much removing her BBL or shots or whatever she got done. She's significantly thinner and it's kind of alarming, not because she's getting thinner or losing weight, but just this jump to alter your physical when you know internally you're not okay. So let's transition into her relationships. I think her relationships have been the prominent reason why Khloe Kardashian has had problems, all while being problematic herself. She had a shotgun marriage in which she met Lamar Odom. They didn't know each other that long, got married in less than 2 weeks, and it lasted as long as it could have. Now, I'm not saying that the demise of that marriage was Khloe's fault. I think it's pretty clear that it was on Lamar, but I think the pressure of being the Duff sister and wanting the fairy tale relationship is something that hurts Khloe more than anything else. A lot of her decisions are based on the men that she dates. And this video isn't to say that dating rappers and athletes is equivalent to asking for trouble. I would actually say dating a Kardashian is asking for trouble more than dating an athlete or a rapper. However, I think it adds to her problems. It adds to the problem of this underlying yearning to be seen as that bitch or envied as the top couple or the girl who got the man that everybody wants, all because in her childhood and during the beginning of her career, that is not what Khloe was known for. See, being the hot, famous girlfriend to a well-known man is synonymous with Kim Kardashian. And because Kim Kardashian makes it look so easy or makes it look as if she's so desired by these industry men, it only became a ritual for the rest of the sisters to follow suit. And because Khloe's external and internal problems that I believe were started by her mother and then transitioned into the typical adolescent struggles we all deal with as women, and then finally graduated into not feeling fulfilled as an adult, Khloe's relationships have been reflective of trauma, poor judgment, and the want to be desired and envied. And it's sad because although these women knew and still know exactly what they're doing when they get into certain relationships, I don't think they realize how much of a focus it would be the bigger their brand became. We know Khloe for her main relationships, which are Lamar Odom, James Harden, and Tristan Thompson. We know she dated people in between. However, if we stem back to the childhood issues and even the storyline that was set up for her 15 years ago, it makes sense why her relationships failed. Just being real. real. It's almost like she's a grown teenager who hasn't learned how to prevent herself from heartache and heartbreak. So if we bring in the Tristan Thompson saga, this dreadful story about how this nobody became a somebody, I just think Tristan is a nuisance and Khloe became a dunce because of him. Like, honestly, I don't think Khloe Kardashian was really that hated until she started dating Tristan Thompson. People still kind of liked her as the sister who was different, but Tristan really brought down a lot of her points. I think he's having his way and he's having fun having his way because he pulled a Kardashian and it makes him look like he's that naker. Whole time though, he's definitely very weird and a lame to me. However, something about Tristan has Khloe in a chokehold, and I think it's because she's grasping for something to work, especially in the love department. Obviously for the sake of her child, but for the sake of her reputation as well. She has this reputation now that despite the money, despite the fame, despite the enhancements, despite the beauty, despite all of these glamorous things, she has been the one Kardashian sister who hasn't been able to secure a healthy, long-term relationship that has a good foundation. So people do call her Khloe can't keep a man Kardashian, which is unfair but fair. However, it's kind of factual when her relationships haven't been the best. To me, it stems from a lot of the nonsense that her mother subscribed her to. There was an interview that I watched in which someone made a compilation of either interviews or the Kardashian sisters themselves asking their mother, Kris Jenner, who her favorite child was. And of course, it comes off in a joking matter because why would a mother say that she likes one child over her others? But I think there's some truth to it. And within that compilation video, Khloe is never mentioned as one of her mother's favorite children. And like I said earlier, Khloe was conceived during the time where her mother was unfaithful to her former husband. I think Khloe was doomed from the start, and I think what we're watching is all of the problems that you can't fix with money and clout be out in the public. And it does suck that there's people, such as myself, who make videos and comments judging her. However, she is a public figure and decided to share the ins and outs of her life. So it is what it is. I did watch the last episode of The Kardashian Show on Hulu because it was trending, and I just kept shaking my head the whole entire time. This is the episode where Khloe found out Tristan impregnated another woman, and everyone is so dumbfounded because according to them, Tristan was making so much progress in building their relationship back together after everything that he had done. People do deserve second chances, but he was like on his 88th. So nobody should have been shocked by his actions. I mean, it's still shocking to know that your boyfriend got somebody else pregnant while playing as if you and him are on great terms. I'm not gonna downplay that. However, he is a repeat offender, so come on. He cheated on you while you were pregnant. Like, that should have been enough. We can call her stupid because it is stupid, especially after the things that Tristan has done. However, I think her stupidity is based in a lot of her developmental traumas and situations. And I do think it's fair for people to say that's not an excuse, because it's not an excuse to accept this. This is a grown woman with a young child who should have packed up her shit and left a long time ago. I agree with that. But I guess the commentator in me who likes to decipher things and figure out why things are happening the way that they are realizes that from watching this show here and there over the years, I don't think Khloe is mentally okay. Even in that last episode, it was like she was trying to say all the right things so that the viewers could think that she was aware of how bad Tristan did her and how long ago she should have left the relationship. But from the patterns that have been set and the precedents that have been evident, it makes one skeptical about her internal and mental stability. And choices are choices, but even for someone like the Kardashians, who I'm sure most of my viewers don't really care for, they are not exempt from mental illness and childhood traumas. And it's very sad that mental issues and childhood traumas make for good reality TV personalities, because that's all I see with this family and even cast members of other shows. Natalie Nunn from the Bad Girls Club. Excuse me. COVID might be back. The Kardashians try to do a great job masking it and hiding it. However, I think that they have been set up to make vanity and materialism their brand, and they're so obsessed and hooked to maintaining that image that I'm seeing problems being very evident now that they are truly grown-ass women. Kourtney is really the only one that I think has any level of sanity and level-headedness. But it makes sense because she's never really cared too much about this stuff, but she has definitely reaped the benefits of it. I just think Khloe has been the most dynamic sister because this was not how she started off. Years ago, Khloe would be the type to say, cut somebody off if they did you bad. But she doesn't act that way because I think she has a problem. That problem to me is reality TV mental trauma. And reality TV mental trauma is something that I think occurs in a lot of reality TV personalities and has a slow but gradual progression that will one day result in something dramatic and outlandish and even worse. I think there are so many reality TV stars that actually suffer from this. Khloe Kardashian is just one of the most prominent to me because she trends a lot as of late for a lot of negative things even outside of her relationship. And each time I see her trending, it just keeps reminding me that she truly is consumed by what her mother and older sisters created that has honestly spiraled out of control. They say all good things come to an end, and I think the problematic and seemingly unstable decisions that the Kardashians have been making over the last 2 or 3 years has turned a lot of people off. It's made a lot of their faults come to the surface and subsequently made a lot of people tune out of their show. If you notice, people really don't care for the Kardashians like that anymore. They constantly get called out for taking from Black women, doing things for attention, being hypocritical, or just not reading the room and missing the mark on some of their comments. And I think that we will begin to see the crack in not just the Kardashian family, but many other reality TV stars whose relevance is drying up. So many of them have problems and trauma that really have overcame them in the public eye, and although it's interesting and entertaining, it's definitely very triggering as well. Remember, y'all, not everything that glitters is gold. So that is it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Please let me know what you think of my commentary down below. What do you think? What do you know? Let me know. If you haven't already, please follow me on all of my social media networks, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye, guys. Come on. One time for the melanin.